Hello and welcome to The Real Radio Show on UCFM 87.8, coming to you from the University of Canberra on Ngunnawal land. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Tash.
And our producer for the day is Barrett. Guys, how are we feeling? Very first episode.
Oh, I'm feeling so pumped. I'm super excited for everything we have on today's show. Barrett, how are you feeling?
I am so excited. I've got my own section.
Segregated over on the other side of the desk. But guys, I'm really nervous as well. But hey, big opportunity for us. First time, professional radio hosting.
Yes, I know. Actually getting paid for this. It's very different.
And that money, hey, it makes a difference. We've got lots happening on today's show, from reboots to spelling bees, an interview with Jean Teasers and the Jean Teasers, a festival deep dive and Barrett's judgments. Along with some news, we have a full house of content in store just for you. Send us a message throughout the show on our text line 0415 774 405. You can stay up to date with everything UCFM by following at UCFM_87.8. And if you're not already, tune in on iHeartRadio to listen to UCFM wherever you are. This is The Real Radio Show.
Welcome to the very first episode of Season 2 of The Real Radio Show. Yay! It's our all-new season with new segments, new interviewees, and most importantly, new hosts. It's basically a reboot. Lots of people have opinions on reboots, so I figured we should address them first and foremost. Let's start off. A reboot is never as good as the original. What are our thoughts?
I feel like this is an unfair statement because I feel like, a reboot is usually not as good as the original, but there's a few gems in there among all the muck. We've got an Ocean's 11 every now and again, a James Bond.
Yes, I agree. So you think never is a bit too strong of a statement to be making?
Yeah, let's think about the stuff that came out in the 80s. Not all of it's the most polished things in the world. Like,
yes,
it's
true.
nostalgic, but let's be honest, there's a few issues with Ghostbusters if we look back.
I was going to say yes, and I think 80s nostalgia definitely has a big grip on all of us today of being like, oh, it was so much better back then, and then you take off the rose-colored glasses and you're like, oh, maybe it wasn't actually that good.
Maybe there were some little issues.
Yes, agreed. I mean, I'll be the first to say that I don't care how many Spider-Man reboots they make, I will always be watching every single one. I'll be in that movie theater.
You did. I feel like we talked about this off air, where you said that when it comes to the Spider-Man movies, though, you want them to do something different each time. It can't just be the same storyline with a different, white boy that they've got into play Peter Parker.
Yes, that is very true. I do like how they've gone into different timelines of what's offered in the comics, because as people who have read the comics know, there are so many. I would dare to say there's hundreds of different storylines that Peter Parker goes through. Stan Lee really liked putting Peter Parker through trauma.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of money doing it, so props to him. But we also say reboots usually aim to modernize an old franchise or expand the universe. How do we reckon we're going to do that for the Real Radio Show? Big task.
Big task. I would say, when I think about what a reboot does, they usually just they take a ghost or an old version of someone from the original and they have them come back, as a bit of nostalgia. So,
yeah,
maybe we can resurrect AJ and bring her back from wherever she is. And
just AJ, screw the other three hosts.
T is on to new things. I'm not sure where James is. And
that is very true.
Allison, we could
graduate.
Find. Allison, we could find.
I've seen Allison wandering around. Allison, we'll find you.
Allison,
we'll
hit the text line right now and give us some sage advice on the Real Radio Show. But, I also think about, Scrappy-Doo and that sort of thing. They usually add a new character that's, really hip and cool and, a little bit edgy. Who do you reckon out of us is the Scrappy-Doo of Season 2 of the Real Radio Show?
Out of all three of us?
Yeah.
Probably you, actually.
That's so mean. That's so mean.
Hey, you're mean to me enough. I'm going to do this on air.
Oh my God.
Listen, I feel like you have a lot of experience outside of this with radio stuff. And I feel like you're going to bring that into the job. And I think you're going to do really well.
That was a very kind way for you to frame it, Natasha.
See, exactly. I dug myself out of that little grave you gave me just then. I can talk myself out of anything.
What else do they do with a reboot of an old franchise? They might...
I mean, they usually try to expand the world a little bit. I mean, I could talk about Marvel for hours, but I feel like they're constantly trying to expand every single storyline, and I know a lot of people do get sick of it, and it's going to have to stop eventually. But until they stop making billions, They're not going to stop.
How are we going to do a real radio show cinematic universe? How does that work?
I mean, we're going to have to go back to the old text. Everyone's going to have to listen to all of season 1 to get caught up. So everyone go back and listen, and you're going to have to learn all of the lore, and then we're going to have to provide our own lore.
That's exactly right. You know, people might be wondering, who is Anjanette? Who is James? Who is Tia? Who is Alison?
I know.
Guys, listen back on the UCFM website or wherever you get your podcasts for season 1 of the Real Radio Show. But, Tash, talking about the expansion of the universe, what are we doing this season? What's our goals to really switch things up?
Oh my gosh, almost like our New Year's resolutions.
Pretty much.
For the show. I feel like we're trying to set the tone to be like fun, interesting. We want people to actually be listening to us. Otherwise, we're sitting in a studio talking to each other with microphones and it's just dead air. So hopefully we get people engaged. I feel like that's our main driving force.
Main driving force. We want a lot of interviews, want to reach out to the community, talk to a lot of interesting people, you know, get some new music on the station, you know, dig down and find some stuff that we haven't played before.
Hannah, you've got a bit of a soft spot for musicals, don't you?
I do, Tash, I do. I've always had a bit of a love for musicals. My dad shares it. We often, when we're going on car trips, he'll always put on Hamilton in the car or something or other for us to listen to.
Such good taste.
But,
I need to go on a car drive with you guys just so we can listen to all of Hamilton.
Oh, trust me, you don't need to.
Yes, I do.
You know, it's fun for the first hour and then after a while you're like, oh, we're still doing this.
Really? Okay, I love Hamilton more than you then, because I would never get sick of it.
I think my thing with it is that love and light to my dad. He is adorable. I adore him with all of my heart. But he has listened to that musical like 20 different times and he has still not managed to learn the lyrics.
What?
So he'll just sort of ad-lib his own version of
Timmy.
Hamilton.
Come on.
But, you know, we did actually go see a musical recently. We went to see Hadestown in Sydney.
Yes,
that was pretty
we
good.
did. That was so good. I loved every single character, even though Timmy had his opinions on the Orpheus and
Always got
Hades.
those opinions.
Always does. But no, I had such a good time. And my favourite part, not to be capitalistic or anything, but we got a little rose at the end since it was the first opening night. It was the first show in Australia. And even though mine died 2 days later, the memory, I still have the photo of said rose. So I was very happy with that.
Yeah, guys, go see actual musicals in theatre. I know we love to pirate stuff, but hey, it's worth it.
Now, Hannah, you sat down with some of the cast members of a local musical comedy produced by Canberra Philharmonic and put their spelling skills to the test.
That's absolutely right, Tash. Let's have a listen with Ella and Megan. We're joined by the cast members of Canberra Philharmonic's production of the comedy musical, the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which is running right now until the 28th of March at the ACT Hub in Causeway Hall, Kingston, with tickets available at the ACT Hub website. Guys, please introduce yourselves. Welcome to the studio.
I'm Megan Stewart. I play the role of Logan Schwarzenegger in the show.
Ooh, fun name.
I am Ella Cahoon and I play the role of Marcy Park. Not a fun name.
So, guys, how's the show been going roughly so far? You guys are a few weeks in, I believe?
We're a week and a day in. Well,
Right.
we're 4 performances in. It's going really fantastically.
Yep.
The reception's been fantastic. I think it's an incredibly fun, interactive and immersive experience. It's a very different musical that I don't think many people have sort of seen before. It's also lesser known. So, yeah, it's been going fantastically.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different style. We have some audience participation throughout the show. So if you want to come for a fun night of theatre, come see the bee.
Now, the show is about a spelling bee, guys, so I've decided that, you know, since you've had so much time to practice, I've put together some lovely questions today for the Real Radio Show Spelling Bee. So, for our first question, Ella, what was your favourite part of doing the show, and how do you spell cheese?
Favourite part of the show. I think just getting to work with such talented performers. I've learnt so much just from watching their performances every single week, and just being able to look at what they do and then go, how can I apply this to my own performance? I've really, really enjoyed that. And cheese. Cheese. Cheese.
Hey!
We love to see it. We love to see it. All right, next up, Megan, how long have you been involved in theatre, and how do you spell ostentatious?
Ooh, okay. I've been involved in theatre for nearly a decade now in Canberra, but in general since I was about 5. So I've been on Canberra stages since 2016.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, it would be a decade. It would be a decade. I've just noticed the little thing down there. I'm like, oh my God, it's 2026. It's not 2025 anymore. What the hell? Yeah, just been involved in lots of things. You know, I think the most I did was about 6 shows in 1 year.
Oh, my God.
Goodness.
You're dedicated.
But that's approximately how long. All right. Okay. So ostentatious. I'm distracted. I can't think about the question because I'm distracted by the word. Ostentatious. Okay.
You might want to use the writing hand technique.
Yeah. OSTENTATIOUS.
That is correct.
Oh my God.
Wow,
I would have gotten that wrong.
What a beautiful answer. And hey, a wonderful spelling. I'm impressed. I would
Thank
not
you.
be able to do that.
Thank you.
All right, so Ella, if you could play any other role in the musical, what would it be?
that's hard.
Plus, how do you spell impersonation?
I would want to play Leaf Coney Bear. Leaf is such a fun role. He goes through an adventure of self-discovery.
Ooh.
And he's unapologetically himself the whole show. And I just think that would be so much fun to do. And plus, you get a cape. You get a cape. I feel like I should know how to spell this. I am PERSONATION. That's wrong. Can I try again? I forgot
You're
the
done.
station.
You're done.
I forgot
You're
that
done.
bit. It's so hard when you're put on the spot.
know.
Oh my
I forgot the
God.
I.
Oh no, Ella.
All right. Let's see whether or not Megan takes the lead.
Yes.
Do you have a favourite musical or theatre production, and how do you spell memory?
Okay, I absolutely do. So my favourite show, well, actually it's a tie. So I do have 2 shows, one of which I've performed in, one of which I haven't. So my 2 favourite musicals of all time are Sweeney Todd and...
Ooh, that's a good one.
And Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh,
Yeah. I have been in Sweeney Todd. Way back in 2017, I actually played Mrs. Lovett. That was with Dramatic Productions, and it was the best. It was the best time of my life. It was like I was 17. I think, the second show I ever auditioned for in Canberra, and to get that role, it was pretty amazing. And it's kind of what I guess I'm like to not sound completely and utterly up myself, but I think it's kind of what I'm most known for.
Right.
Just because of how crazy it was to get that role at such a young age.
It's
and
a
how much
very famous musical.
It really is, and how much of a privilege it was. So if I could do another one again, that would be what I would do. Sweeney Todd, definitely my favourite to perform in, but my favourite to watch and my favourite music, I think, is Jesus Christ Superstar. I just think it's amazing. And I didn't get to see the production last year that toured, which I'm so devastated about because apparently it was incredible. But that's one where I'm like, I'm not sure I would ever perform in it, but I don't know if I'm a Mary. I would want to be a Judas, but I think...
What about Jesus,
yeah.
you know? With
Jesus
Cynthia
is pretty
Erivo's
good.
recently taken that role, so, you know.
That's true. That's true. Nah, I don't think I could sing that. But I do think that it's an amazing musical as well. And the word was memory.
Yes.
MEMORY.
Beautiful.
Very nice, very nice. All right, Ella.
Oh my gosh. I'm so stressed.
Matinee or evening show? And can you spell matinee?
Evening. We actually haven't had a matinee yet.
No.
Our first matinee is on Saturday.
I see.
2-show day can be a lot sometimes. I mean, this is my first time actually having a named part. So I've been in the ensemble in previous shows, so it's very different. I really have to take care of my voice because you can't hide behind other people when you're singing by yourself.
Yeah.
But I think evening, the audiences are better. I think they've they've just come, they've worked all day and now they get to relax in the theatre.
Yeah,
like
right.
mid-show day, it's still good, but yeah, definitely an evening performance.
Right. And do you feel like you can go a little bit more all out when it's the evening show? Because you know that, there's no other show immediately on later in the day.
Yeah, no, I do feel that. And then once it's done, and you can just relax, wind down. You don't have to go, okay, we got to do this again. But it's still good fun
You don't
doing
get
a
that
show.
horrible deja vu.
Matinee.
Matinee.
MATINEE. Yeah, finally!
All right, Megan. What's been the biggest challenge you've overcome doing this show? Also, can you spell you?
Spell you.
You.
Oh, okay. That's mean. I mean, there's so many. Wait, what kind of yew though? Can I get a definition?
A coniferous tree which has red berry-like fruits and most parts of which are highly poisonous.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, great.
I have
awesome.
no idea.
Okay, well, I'm definitely not going to get that right. Personally, I think that's probably an easier question to answer on a personal, in a personal mindset. Has been my stage fright, honestly. 2 years ago now. Oh my God, my dates are terrible. 2 years ago now, I played Judy Garland in The Boy from Oz, and that was an amazing experience and an amazing show. But after that, I swore off musicals ever again because I experienced just this horrific stage fright, which I've never, ever, ever experienced before. And it was just bizarre. So I hated the feeling. It was like this terrifying sensation of, if I go out there, I'm just going to blank. I'm going to forget everything. I don't trust my brain. I don't trust myself. So I think personally being able to get past that and actually do a show again and be like, no, I actually can do it, has been the biggest personal challenge for me. I still get the jitters every now and then, but I guess it's just sort of strange from having such a, I guess, strong sense of self and self-confidence for so many years to have that sort of shattered. And it was nothing to do with the show itself or with the production team or the cast or anything like that in that show. It was just purely me. So I think my biggest obstacle has been getting over myself. I'm long-winding this answer because I don't want to spell the word.
Well, on the note of challenges, how do you spell you?
You. So a carnivorous
A coniferous
plant, you said?
plant that has poisonous berries.
That has poisonous berries. Out of the two U's, I was thinking this was not one of them. E-U-E?
That is unfortunately.
How do you
Incorrect.
spell it? Can I get it right?
Here's what we're going to do, Ella.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to get your best attempt, and if you get this means you win it all.
Oh my God. Okay, is it... Oh, don't do that! Is it E-U-W-E? No!
All right, Megan, it's your turn again. Give it
Okay.
a go.
Y-E-U.
Congratulations to Megan, the official winner of the Real Radio Show Spelling Bee. Thanks so much for joining us in the studio today, guys, and make sure you check out the Canberra Philharmonic's production of the 20th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
We recently had an interesting experience going to a music festival, or some of us didn't go to said music festival. Hannah, would you like to start by explaining our spilt milk tragedy?
A spilt milk tragedy where Doechii was part of the lineup and we really wanted to see her, but unfortunately on the day of, Tash got very, very, very unwell.
Yes, I was incredibly ill in bed. I commandeered Hannah and another friend of mine, and we sat on the couch and watched Stranger Things because we were hoping that I would magically get better. Newsflash, I did not, and I had to miss out on the event.
It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, we're still waiting, and then we get the news, Tash cannot go.
No, I just bit the bullet. I was like, you guys got to try if you can.
Yep, so me and Rom ended up rocking up very, very, very late, and it was very, very, very rainy and very cold. But you know what? Still worth it.
Anything
Still
for
worth it.
Doechii. Anything for Kendrick.
Doechii was amazing, and you know what? You weren't the only one sick, because it actually turned out I was also ill, and I figured that out while I was watching Doechii perform, but you know what? I'd still do it.
So lucky, because there's an artist called Sophia Izello who I really wanted to see. Well, because it was her first time coming to Australia. R.I.P. I'll see you eventually, Sophia.
It was very, very unfortunately timed. I did get to go to another festival that was even better, which was Laneway, which was extremely exciting. I think you also wanted to go to that as well.
Yes, that was a lot more successful for you. I would have gone for Chapel and DJO as well. I'm very jealous that you got to see both of them. But I'm glad that that one was at least a success.
Well, on the topic of festivals, Tash, what do we have coming up this year?
Yes, we have a bunch of different exciting music festivals set up for this year. We've got Ultra Australia in April, Groove in the Moo in May, the Strawberry Fields Festival in November, and so much more.
But, you know, with every year of new festivals comes some hot topics. So price inflation is always talked about when it comes to festivals. So a new study from Culture Kings crunched the numbers on ticket data from 11 of the country's biggest festivals. And Tash, they found out that the average Aussie festival ticket has jumped from around $120 in 2004 to $334 in 2025.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe they used to be that cheap.
I know,
It's
I
making
know.
me sad.
But, you know, that's also a little bit unproportionate as well, because that's more than triple the pace of inflation over the same period. So, you know, if current trends continue, we might be looking at $427 average per ticket by 2030 and $546 by 2035.
500. A lot of us are not going to be able to go to music festivals anymore. Like, that's for the ticket alone. And a lot of us have to actually travel for our music festivals.
That's true. Unfortunately, most festivals are not coming down to little old Canberra.
I know.
But, you know, I'll still get a ticket. I'll just go in debt. You know, this rise in cost is associated with a few different things. You know, the rising cost of fuel and transport for equipment means that, you know, that also factors into the cost. Extra precautions and insurance coverage is getting even more expensive, especially with extreme weather for summer festivals. You know, it's getting hotter. It's harder to manage. You need to keep a festival safe, but you also need to keep it cheap. It's a hard thing to balance on both sides.
Yes, I was going to say, we love global warming, putting a dampener on things.
And then we know both about this one. So festivals are signing on bigger, more expensive artists. You know, we love Doechii, but unfortunately she comes with a bit of a bigger price tag than compared to someone who's a local Australian artist as a headliner.
Yes, exactly.
So it's because of a lot of these factors that we've actually heard a lot in the news lately about staple festivals declining. So lots of festivals that used to be Australian summer staples have gone on hiatus or been unexpectedly cancelled recently. We had Splendour in the Grass, Groove in the Moo, and the Falls Festival.
Wow, that is so many. Like, that's like an incredible number for us to lose. And I know a lot of people were very, very disappointed with all of these cancellations. I mean, I wasn't like planning on going, but the fact that they were cancelled regardless.
And when you were planning on going, you got sick. You know, you're losing out on all of your different opportunities, Tash.
I know, all of the music's been taken from me, and this is why we have to use our streaming services. But I would much rather actually get to see these people live. Now, we went out on campus to ask you about your experience with Aussie festivals and these trends.
Did you attend any festivals recently?
Yeah, I went to Spill.
Exciting. And who was your favourite out of the artists performing?
It would have to be Doechii.
Oh, yeah.
She had great crowd engagement things. Probably favourite.
She's so iconic. I went entirely for Doechii as well. And when it comes to festivals, have you found that cost is a big factor in whether or not you can go?
Oh, absolutely. Especially as a university student, I think it's such a large amount, plus your drinks and things like that, and they definitely ramp up the prices. So paying $15, $16 per worker is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So you kind of just, if you go for the vibes, right?
Do you think there's anything that you would like to see done to try to bring more festivals into Australia, maybe more local artists, stuff like that?
Yeah, I definitely think you've got social media, you might as well use it. Put the idea out there, expression of interest, see how many people want to do it. I think that's the case, and that's your first start with everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, once that's all done, then start building it. It's hard bringing, there's so many people during COVID, especially a lot of our artists in Australia came through. We loved them, we watched them consistently on TikTok, so, they're successful enough to get them in there and things like that. So.
Beautiful. And before we go, to end on a bit more of a positive note, do you have any predictions for who you think will be headlining any of the future festivals in Australia?
It's really hard. I do reckon we'll get Olivia Dean. I definitely think she will come as well. And I think we might get Doechii again, if I'm being honest. So, which will be good.
I would love to see her here again. I was a big fan of her. So please come back, Doechii. Pretty please.
Have you been to any big festivals in Australia recently?
No, I'm too broke.
And what about you, Fletcher?
I used to live in New South Wales, so there was a couple big ones in Sydney. Some of the big one I really went to was Iron Maiden. That one was really fun.
Wow, Iron Maiden, and for people who don't know who they are, can you explain what that was like?
It's a metal band, very popular. They were like the founding fathers of heavy metal. So it was very interesting to go. It was massive attendance.
Yeah, that's so cool. Everyone get listening to Iron Maiden if you haven't already. Now, you said you didn't attend because, in your own words, you were broke.
Yep.
How do you think they could fix the price of tickets, or was it going to the event itself?
It was kind of a bit of both. It was both affording a trip to Sydney and a hotel, but also the price of the tickets. So I wanted to go to Laneway recently to see Chapel Roan, but tickets, general admission tickets, were about $200 plus a trip to Sydney. I couldn't afford it.
Do you both feel that Aussie festivals are currently in decline, and if so, why?
I feel like with Aussie festivals, it's more about minor artists that come here, because when you got Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga with the Mayhem Ball, it was massive. They had record numbers, But then when it came to like smaller artists, it was very lackluster. I even felt that with Iron Maiden, they barely qualified as sort of like a recurring band that was able to pull numbers. So even though there was a lot of people there, it felt less impactful than what I was expecting. So I feel like yes, but for minor artists.
I think Australia, like, there's a few things that go on, but not that many, and they don't make it very accessible for people who would want to go, like uni students. A lot of us just work retail. We can't afford to go to these festivals, even if we might really want to.
Did you go to any festivals recently?
Yes, I actually went to DigiFest in Canberra a couple of weekends ago.
Ooh, cool. And what happens at DigiFest?
DigiFest, it gets a lot of like DJs from around Australia down. I think it's been going on for 5 years now. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. What about you two?
I haven't been to a festival recently. I don't think I've been since COVID, basically.
It's been years for me. It would have been Groovin' the Mood back when it was still on campus.
2018,
here, so.
yeah.
Is there any particular reason you guys haven't gone to a festival?
I think I aged out of it. I don't know.
Just wasn't something I overly enjoyed, and especially with the cost factored in as well. It just, it wasn't value for money in terms of things that I want to do.
So with festivals, do you have a dream headliner if you were to attend one?
Oh, that's a good question. Honestly, I love Dom Dollar. I've seen Dom Dollar 3 times. I saw him at Spilt Milk a few years ago, and that's like, I don't know if that would be a dream because I've seen him before, but I just, so much fun, bring him back.
But I love when we get to see Aussie talent actually showcased and given a platform here. I think, it's great when we can get international artists, but they can be a bit more flaky, so it is nice when we can actually support our locals, Ocean Alleys, Veronica's, things like that. It's nice to see.
You guys think that Aussie festivals are in decline?
I think they were, but I think we're on the way back up now. For me personally, I'm like, yes, all the festivals. So I hope that keeps happening.
Well, I think we've definitely seen like Groovin' the Moo has announced it's going to try and come back and do a one-day only sort of event. So I think they're also learning to adjust and change and get more used to what music festivals actually look like. So I think we've seen the worst of it, and I do think they are now learning and growing on how to go from here to secure their future.
That's beautiful. We love a bit of evolution. Well, thank you so much for joining me, guys, and sharing your thoughts. Guys, you just heard us interview people around campus about their thoughts on festivals, interrupted by a very generous use of the whoosh sound effect, can I say, Tash?
I'm sorry, I'll do better next time. I apologise to anyone who had headphones on.
All right, well, speaking of festivals, we had the opportunity to see one of Laneway's lineup live here in studio. Barrett, Tash and I sat down with Jaida from one of my new favourite bands, formed here in Canberra, Jean Teasers and the Jean Teasers. We chatted about a range of things from the band's experience at Laneway, their upcoming tours, behind-the-scenes details with their new album Glory, and most importantly, I asked them to sign my CD. Have a listen. Hello. We're joined by a very special guest in the studio, Jaida from Australian indie rock band Jean Teasers and the Jean Teasers. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me. Stoked to be here.
I'm really excited. I saw you guys at Laneway, so I'm a little bit of a fan. You guys occupy a bit of a soft spot in Canberra's heart as a locally formed band. I'm really curious, how did you guys originally come together and what led to the name that you guys created? I feel like it's very, very eclectic.
Yes, it is a very eclectic name. We came together because we all went to school together here. So I think our singer and our drummer met in kindergarten, and then me and the guitarist moved to the school in year 3, and we all just kind of became best friends. Aww. And then when we were about 14, we had a sleepover and watched School of Rock, best movie of all time.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then we watched it and we're like, this looks easy. Let's start a band. So I'd never played bass before. Scarlett had never played guitar, and we just picked them up and kind of went from there. And the name, it's a really boring story, and we've said for the past 10 years that we need to invent like an interesting story.
Just need to lie.
Yeah. But it was basically our guitarist's dad's friend just came up with it one day in the back of the car.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn, well, hey, credit to him.
Yeah, I think his name's Davey, so shout out Davey.
I was going to say, you say it's not an interesting story. I think that's like the most rock and roll way for a band to get their name.
It's like a christening if you think about it.
It is, yeah.
It's been handed down.
Have you ever
to
thought about Teen Jesus and the Jean Teasers.
Wait, say that again.
That could work for a band name. Now, as Hannah said, you guys were part of the Laneway lineup earlier this year. How was that experience? And did you have a favourite crowd across Australia?
Yeah, it was so fun. I love Laneway. I loved all the artists on that lineup, so it was really cool to be kind of have them as our colleagues for the week. I think my favourite city was possibly the Gold Coast, which is a bit of a surprise.
Really?
Yeah. But just because when we play festivals, I feel like I always have this internal voice in my head being like, oh, no one's going to be there. and then we played this first show and there was probably 5,000 to 6,000 people there, and it was very packed and you couldn't really see past the crowd, and it was like that at every show. But I think having that as the first show we played was really, really nice.
Makes you feel a bit warm and excited, probably. Yeah. I'm sure it's really, really nerve-wracking actually to be playing at a festival like that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same as I don't know if you guys have been skydiving before. But, it's that feeling of leading up to it. It's quite anxiety-inducing, but then when you're in the air, floating through, you're kind of oh, this is fine.
This is a vibe.
Yeah, it's when you're on stage, you're not that nervous, but leading up to it, you
kind of more sink or swim.
Yes, exactly. yeah.
Well, speaking of festivals, it's recently been announced that you guys are joining the lineup for Warped Orlando. What drew you to that festival in particular?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think they reached out to us, which is great. But yeah, so cool. Warped is a festival that I just you've heard of for years. I think it's been around for 20 years, 30 years or something. So just really, really cool to be playing it, especially going back over to the States for it is super fun. We've only played one festival in America before, only ever done kind of headline shows and supports over there. So keen to get back over and play to a new crowd. I think it's a bit more of a kind of pop punk crowd, which isn't our usual scene. So it'll be interesting to see who comes to our show, and
something a bit different to spice it up.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you guys are really non-stop with the touring at the moment. You guys have a tour in May for your new album Glory. Tell me, why did you decide to call the album Glory?
Yeah. So that tour is coming up. Very, very exciting. With the name, we wrote the album last year and we did kind of an immersive writing of it. So it was 2 months recording it in a studio on the Central Coast. So, and we were kind of locked into this house where it was the bedrooms, you walk out of your bedroom and you're in the studio. So it was very, very immersive.
Yeah.
But we were kind of thinking of a name and we're what do we want this to represent? And we were wow, it's been 10 years of being a band. We've achieved so much in our time. When we first started, we just wanted to have fun, and now we're playing shows overseas and doing these big supports, and we were oh, this album, we kind of want it to be a victory lap a little bit, and a bit kind of power to us or whatever. But then also we went to a Steiner school growing up, and we had this morning song that we had to sing every morning called Glory to Thee. We were joking around being oh, how funny would it be if we called it Glory to Thee? And then we were oh, Glory is actually a cool name.
Yeah, that is super duper cool. I love that we have more of a story.
Yeah.
For this one, for the name. What has been the strangest experience you guys have had whilst touring?
Strangest experience?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel there's been some weird ones, especially surrounding hotels. Yeah. We got back to our hotel one night and there was this door that just had butter smeared all over it.
Oh. That's strange enough to be slightly horrifying.
Yeah.
That's the start of a horror movie.
That's a lot of butter to waste as well.
Yeah. Very, very weird. But a lot of random stuff happening. We did a headline tour last year where during we have this part in our set where everyone ducks down before they jump up, and in this part everyone jumped down and then these two girls at the back just flashed us.
Oh my god,
that was awesome.
We love
that's
to
the
see
highlight.
It.
Yeah. But lots of weird stories. I don't have too many to count, but
yeah, definitely. For the next question, did you guys have any particular inspiration for your music videos?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel we definitely did, but I'm trying to think of now. I think for our balcony music video, we kind of wanted that to be a bit the club scenes in Euphoria.
Yes.
That style. I would even go as far to say heated rivalry, like Connor story, they're
yeah.
facing each other in the club. Except for that hadn't come out yet when we.
You were heated
recorded it.
rivalry before heated
Yes,
rivalry.
we were their inspo. yeah.
100%.
But that was definitely an inspo for that. And then for the Mother music video, I think that was more like just like that American Gothic, kind of like early like 2010s Lana Del Rey, like white prairie dresses, but like spooky.
Yeah, like Ethel Cain kind of vibes.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm also just wondering, this is a personal question. Do you have a favorite song that you've done as part of the band yet?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it constantly changes. Like every time we write a new song, I'm like, this one's my favorite. But I think mine would probably be Talking, which is kind of like a deep cut off the new album. But I would say like it's a little bit more like Tom Yorkie, a bit like Radiohead inspired, and a bit more like up my alley personally for music. So yeah.
And I have a really important question to ask you. This is our final question for today. Will you sign my CD?
Yes, of course.
Yes!
Whoa.
You can get some really good ASMR.
All right, I'll hold it up close to the mic. I've always got to do the little stars around it.
Oh, it's so cute. We need to get a photo of that. Yeah, for the socials.
Oh my god. For reference, for those who are audio only, she did in fact write Teen Jesus with some cute little stars. You have very good handwriting.
Thanks. It's a lot of practice of just doing the Teen Jesus. My handwriting for anything else is awful.
You've perfected those words specifically. I would do the same thing.
That's
all you got to
like
write.
Illegible.
I did try writing Teen Jesus on the board earlier while I was here in the studio, and then I saw my handwriting and I said, you know what? We don't need to do all that. It'll be fine. I was once told in primary school that I had a doctor's handwriting.
Ooh,
and I thought it was a compliment.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the nicest thing anyone's
my
ever
brain
said to
just
me.
went to it being a compliment, but I thought about it deeper and I'm like,
No, it was a dig. It was a dig. Well, massive thanks to Jaida for visiting us in the studio today. Make sure you check out Teen Jesus and the Jean Teasers wherever you listen to music. Check out their new album Glory and then see it live for their upcoming May tour. Tickets available now from their website. And now that you've heard us talk to Teen Jesus and the Jean Teasers, we're going to listen to Barrett judge them in the very first installment of Barrett's Judgment. Oh my god.
Hits perfectly. Yeah. So welcome to Barrett's Judgment, where I review and judge people's music taste. Today we're doing Hannah, who selected Teen Jesus and the Jean Teasers. I said it right. So firstly, a little context about me and my music taste is I'm really into sad stuff. It's concerning. People have asked. We're not going to get into that. Also love musicals, yada yada. But first, before we get into my opinions, Hannah, tell me about why you actually like Teen Jesus and the Jean Teasers.
I think the main thing is I've been really trying to get into more Aussie musicians. I think that I like a lot of people, you only really listen to stuff overseas because that's what's most popular. And, I really like Teen Jesus and the Jean Teasers. Just one, they're local to Canberra. Gotta love that. But I always like that sort of alt indie rock sort of sound, like somewhat similar to beach rock, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, and your favourite song from them?
My favourite song would be I Used to Be Fun.
That's interesting. I've referenced that song in my notes, I see. So
I'm scared.
It'll be interesting. But all right, my thoughts and opinions now. So firstly, my favorite album from them was not Glory. I loved I Love You way more. I think just there's a lot more going on there in the range. Glory, to me, felt a bit flat, a bit samey, a bit like, you go over to the album of I Love You and there's a lot more range that goes on in there. They've got a bit more sadder songs to the bit more of the up and the hypier rocky songs. The Cyan Pepper one in the middle, that just kind of throws you back into it. Like if you were sort of drifting off and then you get that one, you're like, oh, that's right. And I like that in an album personally. So that really got me into it. And also the rockier songs from it were all pretty interesting. They were different enough. Whereas if we go over to Glory, as saying, I didn't feel that as much. A lot more repetitive. And for me, honestly, if I was doing an assignment, it would go into the background and just I couldn't take it in properly. still, I did enjoy a couple of songs from it. Honorable mentions to Daylight and Mother, which I found were both, like, Daylight's kind of that theme that I liked, more slow and sad, whereas Mother's a bit more grungier, I guess.
Yeah. So it wasn't depressing enough for you, is the energy I'm getting.
Yes, it wasn't. It was angry sad, which I'm more of just a sad.
Oh, Barrett.
Oh, Barrett. No. Again, we're getting into not today, but my favorite song, though, again, going with the theme, was definitely Salt featuring the Grogans, I believe they're called.
Yeah.
I listened to a bit of them as well. I quite enjoyed them as well. But to me, it was just like literally the first 5 seconds I listened to this, I was like, oh, I'm already enjoying this. Just the guitar riff at the beginning, I was like, it's the right vibe for me, and it just hit all of the right brain functions. And then the switch to the belt and the chorus was just captured my attention so much. And I love that switch from being like really slow and a little sad and melancholy to the big, and now I'm just gonna yell and just like, yes, slay. There's like a bit in one of NF's songs, who I also love, in one of his newest songs, Gone, I believe it is, there's a bit in the music where it does that kind of just sucks you out of it and then will just like blast the music again. And to me, it just works, and again hits all of the right brain functions for me. And also just the lyrics in it were just so good. Like they really capture what it's like to be in a situation that you don't want to be in anymore. And to me, just the start to the finish of that song was just so good. So we're going to play that in a second. Now, for this segment, I do want to do a rating properly, but as this is our first song, can't really do that. Our first band. So at the moment, Teen Jesus and the Jean Teasers are sitting at number 1. Will they stay there? We don't know. If you want, text into our text line, which is 0415774405, and I can do all these recommendations and judge your music taste, because who doesn't want to be judged in this life, if we're being honest. We'll do Tash another week as well.
Oh, fantastic.
And look,
I'll gear up.
When no one texts in, well, I'll just go around asking my friends and you two to do more recommendations, and we can have a full list. I think we're running for 8 weeks, so this will be interesting. But overall, I did actually enjoy Teen Jesus. I think it wasn't what I was expecting when I was going into it. Firstly, had no idea they were a girl band at all. I was shocked by that. The only person else that I knew that listened to them mostly listens to, like, I don't know, dad music.
Yeah.
So I was expecting it to be this band with some white guys playing, and then like, wait, what?
You're like, that's 4 female voices.
Women can also do music.
Who knew?
Barrett didn't.
But definitely an enjoyable listen. I will be downloading some of their music, Salt being one of them. And yeah, I think that's all I had for my segment today. So every week I'll be here. I'll be judging music. Get excited.
That's all we have for this week. Thank you for tuning in to The Real Radio Show. Thanks also to our guests, Ella, Megan, and Jaida. Make sure to follow our socials at UCFM 87.8. We'll be back again next Tuesday. You can find past episodes of this show and all other UCFM shows on our website, ucfm.com.au, or listen to the podcast version wherever you get your podcasts. Keep it real, guys.
Bye.
And bye.
Bye.